Howdy, welcome to my channel. Today we will be taking rubber stamps that are wood mounted off of the wooden frame, and we will also be changing the foam mounting that it's attached to. What we will need to use for that is a heat tool and duct tape, but there is a second part to this video. At the end of this video, if you participated in the Scraphoarders series hop, we will be announcing the winners at the end of this video. So first what I do is bring in this mat because it can take heat, and the blue mat that I usually work on can't actually take heat. So we're gonna bring this out to use. Then we will turn our heat tool on. This is one of those heat tools that you normally would use for heat embossing, but you can also use it to remove the rubber from a wood mounted stamp. What I like to do is turn it on, run it over for a count of about 10, and turn it off and see if I can start peeling the stamp from the wood mount. So let's begin. So now we've got our rubber stamp taken off of our wood block. Next, we're going to take our rubber stamp and remove it from the current cushion mounting that it's on, because I like to use a cling foam, but I do know that some others like to use Eileen's Tack-It-All to glue over this, and then that's pretty much all they would do. But we're going to continue with the process that I do for unmounting wood blocked stamps. So again, you run the heat tool over your rubber, again for about a count from 10 to 20. So now you try to pull the rubber away from the foam. If that doesn't work the first time that you try it, you can go back in with the heat tool. Now, if that's not working, what you can do is you can bring in a Spellbinders tool-in-one to help you pull this part up. What I like to do with this is basically just scratch at the mount, and not the rubber, but just the foam mounting that's on here, because I don't particularly like to keep this. I like to change it to a cling mount. So as you can see, all of that cutting that we did with the tool-in-one helps us to take the foam mounting off. You do need to be careful because it also does cut your mat up a little bit. That's one of the reasons why when it comes to this type of mat, I actually prefer to buy kitchen mats. I will have them linked in the description box below. But I also know that you can buy just a single one on its own from a craft store, but as they are the same material and you get so many more of the mats when you just buy it in a kitchen section, that's what I choose to do. Now you may notice that not all of the mounting came off. That's when you bring in the duct tape. You just cut a section of duct tape off of your roll, and then what you do is you stick it on top of your stamp, and rub it. It's easier to see it this way, so it's over the whole stamp and you just rub it in. And then what you do is you peel. That helps to remove the foam mounting. Also, it's a little bit easier to do once it's hardly there, which is why we're using the tool-in-one to help us basically score the foam mounting so that it's easier to pick up. Now, it does leave a bit of residue behind, but because we're going to take our rubber stamp and we're going to bring in our cling foam, that's okay because it'll just have something sticky over it. So if you can't use your duct tape any longer, like it won't stick anymore, you just bring in another piece of duct tape. That's why I like to have a roll handy, because it's not one of those things where you could just take a couple of strips, because you never know how difficult the stamp is going to be when it comes to unmounting. So basically we just continue until we've got all the foam mount off, which we're almost there. This rubber stamp is as clean from the foam as it's going to get, because that's the foam, and I know there's the gray parts, but that's actually from the duct tape, which helped us remove a lot of the foam part. So what we will be doing now is taking our rubber stamp and placing it onto some cling mount. As you can see, I've got a lot of different sizes of cling mount. It actually comes in a sheet. Comes in a sheet bigger than this. It comes in a sheet that's a little over your standard printer paper size, which would be 8.5 by 11. I will provide a link in the description box for where you can get some cling mount, if that's what you would like to use. So now you take your rubber stamp and you place it on your cling mount. And then what I like to do is just make sure I make a little area to map out where it's going to be, because I like to cut on the white sheet rather than on the cling mount, because one side is sticky, which is the side that our rubber stamp is on currently, while the other side is the cling side. Some great scissors to use when you're trying to mount your stamps would be, I like these Tim Holtz snips. Also, I have Kai scissors. I don't have them out here right now, but those are actually really good scissors as well. So this size you probably wouldn't be able to use to mount a rubber stamp, so I would just throw this away. And this might be able to fit another cling mount. That's why I have all these varying sizes, is because I like to keep my scraps of the cling mount in case I wind up with a smaller stamp so I can use it. And now from here, I just like to sort of cut around the stamp to create the shape. One of the reasons I like to do this is because, and this is true whether you're using your rubber stamps on cling mount or you're using your rubber stamps on the wood block, these spaces will wind up picking up the ink that you're using when you're stamping, and they will leave a mark on your paper. Since you will wind up getting ink on them, they'll also be able to stamp onto your card front or your embellishment piece or whatever you're using your stamps for. And you can cut as much or as little off as you want to. It's just that be careful the first time you use your stamp when it's rubber, because since it has all this extra area, if it didn't hold on to the foam mount cleanly, it will pick up the ink. So let's see how this one goes. Here, we'll just use a scrap of cardstock, and we will place our stamp on our block. You could also use the MISTI, but since we're not actually doing any serious stamping here, like we're not actually making a card or anything, we're just trying to see what it's gonna look like, we're just going to use it on a scrap of paper. And then just grab some ink. And there you go, there's your stamp. In the illustration, it looks like this, but actually when you stamp, it looks like this. That's also part of why I like to change my stamps from wood mount to cling mount, because if you look at this stamped block, you're going to expect your stamp to wind up looking like that after you've used it, when in actuality it looks like this. So that's all I have to share with you today as far as how to change your wood block stamps from wood to cling. Now we've got all of our stamps removed from the wood blocks, which takes up a lot of space. Those wood blocks really take up a lot of space. As you can see here, these are all the wood blocks that we just removed these stamps from. And once these are actually mounted onto the cling foam, we can then store them either in a DVD case or we can store them in a CD case. What I like to do for the CD cases is just, you just pull on that side and it just pops right out. So let's see. These aren't mounted yet, so we're not going to turn them over and stick them like we would if they were. But what we're going to do is just put them in the CD case just to see how much space that actually takes. Okay, so as you can see, we're not exactly putting them necessarily the way you would if they were all mounted onto the cling mount. Like a lot of this space that's not even necessary was removed. But as you can see, the ink from a stamp pad, from an ink pad, actually does get onto the rubber here. That's why you would want to cut off any excess rubber, because you don't want to have that wind up on the surface that you're stamping on. But basically the point is this: we're removing what used to be wood blocked stamps that used to fit in here, and that's a lot of space, into either a CD case or a DVD case, and that's like half the space right there, especially depending on how you're storing it. I will provide you with a picture of how I store my stamps, because I do store them in both CD cases and DVD cases. Now, the other reason we're here for this video is, if any of you watched the Scraphoarders series, which was a 3-week video hop, you may be interested to know who won for each of the weeks. And I will have that list provided for you right now on screen. So I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, stay crafty. If you like what you saw, please click the like button. If you would like to see future videos from this channel, click the subscribe button, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment box right below the description box.